Hey y'all, so today we are going to do a car chronicles. It is literally December 31st. It's the last day of 2024. Um, I got to throw in there, I personally don't partake in the Matrix New Year's, but for what it's worth, it is the new year, okay, for the Matrixies. Um, anyway, um, so I just been doing a lot of reflecting. I've been driving for a while and just trying to process my thoughts. We just had a new moon. And to be honest, like, when it comes to like the new moons and the full moons, sometimes I understand stuff, but I don't understand it all the way. All I try to do for the most part is just try to reflect during that time, just so that I can keep track of like how I maybe felt, or like my cycle of what I've been going through during that time. So during this time, I have had like a breakthrough for myself. And like, I don't know if other people have felt this way before, but it's like, I don't know, when you get so in tune with yourself, it feels really good. And at the same time, like, you want to be able to share it with people, but you don't necessarily know how to share it with people, or like, you don't feel the need to share it with others because you may feel like their input may like turn it into a negative. And what I mean by that is, like, sometimes, like, when you share stuff with people, they just put their negative spin on it, or like, you could be so excited sharing something with somebody and they're so like dull about it because they don't necessarily understand, right? And like, with me, internal breakthroughs are like the most exciting thing. Just simply because, like, I feel like when you elevate as a next level human, it just makes you feel like so fucking powerful, bro. Like, what I mean by that too is just like some of the things I have been reflecting on. So, yes, I am a bold person, but at the same time, I do allow for things to be bypassed depending on like the situation or like the person. And like, these can be situations where you, like, a coworker might say like some slick shit, but it's like, oh, you like this coworker, so you'll just be cool and write it off or whatever, but internally, it's like, now, if I would have said what the fuck I really wanted to, then you gonna be mad, right? But instead, it was like, like, for instance, this past weekend, it was a coworker, right? This coworker, like, we were really busy at work, and honestly, like, I had taken upon myself to just, not even ask anybody for help, but to go do my own thing at work, right? And so, as I am doing what I'm doing, a coworker tried to interrupt what I was doing to ask me to do something for them, which would have required them to do essentially what I'm doing, but for themselves. I know that's very vague, but I don't like to really explain stuff. I don't really like to explain stuff too personally, but that's what it was, right? And so the coworker kept repeatedly asking if I can go grab blah, 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 if I can go grab. And I literally kept ignoring them because in my mind, I'm thinking, why the fuck is this bitch asking me to go grab something when she can see I'm clearly grabbing something for myself? But, like, just as easy as I'm over here grabbing this, you can come and grab it. Like, you're standing right here asking somebody else to grab something. It's not that she was being blocked or anything like that. It was that she just simply did not want to take the time out to go around and to grab something for herself, which I had just done, right? So it pissed me off And at first I was just going to ignore it because I'm like, you know, the audacity. But then when she physically said my name and asked me to grab it, I literally looked at her and was like, go grab it yourself. And if you are like me, I'm one of those people that, like, I start to feel bad when I am 100% like bold, because I feel like it's too straightforward, and a lot of people don't necessarily know how to take that direct of communication. And so, like, somebody else ended up grabbing it for her, and I think that in that moment I felt bad because I'm like, oh well, if this person ended up grabbing it for her, maybe I could have grabbed it. But then I had to tell myself, like, no, bro, because that person over there was actually very busy in what they were doing, and they stopped what they were doing to grab something for this coworker, which then, like, essentially stressed that person out. But they didn't want to, they wanted to people please, which was exactly what I did not feel like doing. So, like, to be a next level human, right, I stood on what I said. I stood on business. But I then followed up with that coworker later and was just like, hey, I hope that you didn't take what I said personally. And I explained to her my thought process of, you know, that person was busy, and I took it upon myself to go grab my stuff because I knew that person was busy. And just as you could have easily went and did that, instead you tried to take the easy route and tell me to grab something for you as I'm grabbing stuff for myself. And then you made it, you like, the reason being is that you just simply put yourself above others and what they were doing. Because honestly, for me to even have the audacity to feel bad about that, like, that person did not even feel bad about the fact that they were going to do what they wanted to, right? Like, they expected you to do as such. But, like, after having that conversation, like, that coworker actually ended up saying, like, oh, do you know who I am? Like, I'm not going to take that stuff personally, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? That's super cool. I'm glad that we came to that conclusion. But it's just something about, like, being able to have that open-ended conversation so that no one is left wondering, or, like, even with yourself, if you're one of those people that overthink stuff, or it's like it marinates in your fucking mind, and, like, you really feel like this person's thinking about it too, but some people really don't be giving a fuck. Like, you know, when she said that she doesn't take things personally, I 100% believe that, but at the same time, she is still somebody that's going to talk her shit. And so, it's just a matter of, like, yeah, you might not take things personally, but, you know, you might say this, that, and the third later because, you know, she is one of those people that's passive-aggressive about stuff instead of being more direct. But anywho, so I had, like, a few of those encounters, like, this past weekend, of where I am just constantly snapping back at people that are trying to, like, tell me what I'm gonna do. Like, no, I'm not gonna do this. This is what I'm going to do. But in the same token, with all of those instances, I double back on everybody. Because to be a next level human is not just to necessarily snap off and just let shit be what it is. It's to get an understanding of the situation. Like, one person just flat out admitted, like, they were just being bitchy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad that you can admit that, because to be honest, that's what kept our little bickering back and forth, because I know that you're being bitchy, and so I'm matching your energy instead of just not giving it any energy at all. But, you know, I value that person, and so it was like I was willing to go the extra mile and match energy because I knew it wasn't going to be shit later. But at the same time, I didn't want that energy inside of me, so I just made sure that I double back and just cleared that out real quick, because I'm like, nah, I don't, like, I feel bad. But yeah, so I have been going through an era of talking my shit. I've been talking my shit. I've been just being direct, letting people know that stuff does not align with me, or I don't feel like doing something. And it feels good. Honestly, it does feel really good. I just want to find a balance of like just being able to not be mean or like feel like it's fueled from me feeling some type of way. I do want to just continue to just be like, yeah, this I'm saying no, and it's just that, you know, I don't want to have to feel bad about it. I don't want to have to worry about if somebody is feeling personal about it. Like, no, like it's just what it is, right? Um, but outside of that, I also feel like I have really been in alignment with myself, and like, you know, I before this I felt like I was behind, or you know, like I don't necessarily have a passion. I don't know what my life purpose is, but it is so crazy because I think that I am truly figuring out what my life purpose is. And the more that I sit here and work on myself, like literally the more that I sit here, work on my internal being and making sure that I'm putting out the energy that I'm wanting to receive, and I'm doing the work, and, um, all that good stuff, the more that I feel like I'm unlocking puzzle pieces of shit that has been like over time. I'm like, oh, I think I'm supposed to do this. I think I'm supposed to do this. Like, it's like a puzzle piece will come, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is how this and this correlates. So I really can do these two things. You know, like I've been building up. It's like I'm building up to the climax. And it's very hard to explain to some people because you you will find that on this journey there are people that watch not because of they're just monitoring spirits and they want bad for you, but you have people that just watch because they want to see your outcome, and that's going to give them the motivation to do for themselves. But then yes, you also have the people that wish bad on you, and you know, they want to be stuck in their realities and all of that, you know, very much so. But at the end of the day, like I have been learning to just be in your power, be yourself regardless of what is going on around you with other people, because as much as you might be embarrassed about or feel like you're in it alone, there are people watching. People are watching because you're doing something different, or it's like, you know, they are envious of you, or and what you're doing. And one thing I am trying to learn how to do is shut the fuck up. Like when I am doing something, like as it pertains to how I see myself and the things I'm pursuing, whatever the case may be, I stop trying to share it so much. And so I will find that I am talking to people less because I'm like, what else would I have to talk about with this person, like outside of like me just telling them all my business and they don't ever say shit. Or maybe it's just a person that like when you talk to them they're just so draining because they talk about the same shit, right? And it's usually about just themselves. Like you hardly ever run into conversations where people want to mutually like have open-ended discussions with you about like you guys are just playing off of each other of what this person wants to do, what you want to do. Like
in about 10 miles, take exit 137B on the left to merge onto I-230.
Sorry. I'm gonna have to cut that part out. But anyway, so I had just lost my train of thought. Sorry, y'all, because I was interrupted on my car session. But anyway, so yeah. So I also started reading a book, right, that pertained to this, and it was called Find Your People, in which I do want to do an episode on this book, so I'm not going to give it away too much. But my reflection of all of that came full circle because I was talking to somebody, and I had literally, like, sometimes you receive messages, like, if you are a really tapped in person, you know, you believe in higher powers and stuff like that, not just like a certain religion or, you know, something like that, but if you are truly a spiritual person and you are tapped in, you'll know, or you'll understand that you get messages or downloads when you talk to people, or like when you listen to a song or just something like that. That's why it's very, very, very important, like, who you are around and the stuff that you listen to. But either way, I was having a conversation, and it was me talking, right? It was me talking to the person, and all of a sudden, like, it's like I'm tuned in to what the fuck I'm saying, because I know this is a real message. It's a confirmation to myself, from myself, but it's like I want you to really hear this message, and so you're tapped into yourself and what you're saying in that moment. Because what I just so happened to be saying was a reflection on how all the books that we read, like, I had heard something somewhere that talked about how, like, you know, when you read books, you are essentially the author. Like, all the authors are one. Everybody's connected, right? And so even with all the books that I read, they are all connected, because it's just like, you know, I was just simply talking about, like, if you take out that person's main point of why they do something, like, for instance, when you're reading an investing book, if you read one investing book, like, that person might talk about how, like, gambling has changed their life. They were doing this, they have their strategies on how to gamble. You might read a different book that will talk about their strategy is to simply just day trade, or another person is their strategy is simply to do crypto. Like, reading all those books has an underlying message, because at the end of the day, if you take out the division in what they're talking about, they have the underlying same message. And that's where I feel like I have been deep diving into my life. If this even makes sense, this might go over a lot of people's head. But, like, how can I dim this down even more? So, like, even in the Find Your People book that I will soon do a review over, sometimes I will find, like, it is more irritating to read some people's perspectives of stuff, because they are so stuck in just that perspective, right? But then again, that's me being caught up in my own perspective, right? So I allowed myself to finish reading this book, despite the fact that she was focused so much on, like, her being a Christian woman. And this is not to make things uncomfortable for people that are Christians or anything like that. It's just that I feel like it really tries to push a narrative, but when I bypass that in my mind, because ultimately, if we are all truly working towards one goal, which is the higher frequency of life, operating out of our love, like, it shouldn't matter what this person believes, right? So I allowed it to be like almost an open conversation of her sharing her point of view of, like, how finding her group of people through connecting, like, the fact that they were like connecting through church and all of this, like, the underlying meaning of it all, though, was there are still, like, in life, there's, as they say, as above, so below. You have the good with the bad, the yin and the yang, all of that stuff. So everybody has those same facts in anything that they speak about. It is just that they give them a particular label, right? So, like, in Christianity, like, the below or the negative is the sins, or like sinners. And when they talk about, like in her book, and she's talking about she doesn't want to connect with people that are not closer to God, that don't plan on being closer to God. How I also interpreted that was how I don't like to be associated with people that are stuck in their same cycles. They're stuck in where they are instead of moving forward and getting more in tune with their higher selves. Like, everything correlates to the same thing. It's just a matter of, are you willing to look at something as if it is two sides of a coin, instead of letting things be where they are and not allowing to see further than that? Because it still is allowing for your development to be able to interpret these messages to be more than just where they're at, right? So, like, even if I met that author in real life, and I, like, bounced off of her conversation with, like, my perspectives of, like, just being spiritual instead of being a Christian, like, if she was open to have those conversations with me, opposed to just rejecting me and then being like, no, you're not looking to grow, like, labeled me because I'm not just a Christian, So, like, it's just been very interesting, like, how I have been, just really deep diving into these things and having breakthroughs, because it feels really good to actually be able to get past that little bit of discomfort to unlock the next thing, right? I feel like that was a word. And I'm so sorry if it, like, did not make sense to others, because sometimes stuff is not meant for certain people. But those of you that get it will get it. And those of you that don't, it's okay. You'll get there. But that's all I had for today. So until next time.